All right. Greetings, and you also warm positive vibrations. This is Body Culinary coming at you live with today's Sunday coaching. So today's it's a little bit more open. We have our regular folks and the folks that will catch this also on the replay. And today I'm coming at you from our new space, Crown Jewel Echo in Belize Central America, which we've been working hard on. And speaking of being in this new space, what I wanted to talk about or put out on the table is when things don't go as planned, you know, overeat. Things don't go your way. What do? Do you overeat? So that has been me. I can say gratefully, I don't know if I would say so much proudly, but just gratefully as someone that's been a really bad junk food addict, and then a health junk food addict, and a person that has been raised um, in the pattern and deeply conditioned to soothe myself and self-soothe with food. That's the pattern that I was exposed to, that I saw and experienced over and over and over. That's what I was immersed in. So that's what I picked up. Culturally, also, it's been socially acceptable, you know, in all the circles that I've moved in, whether that be church, religious, family gatherings, in corporate America, baby showers, usually a glutton fest. Or not just a gluttony, not without making ourselves bad or wrong, because that word is very charged. But we do self soothe in groups with food. Highly seasoned food, very flavorful food. My family is Caribbean and African American, so there's a lot of flavor coming on both sides. And that it does have health implications, whether we want to admit it or not. In this age of body positivity and being politically correct, and so many conversations being held on social media, where a lot of people remain anonymous, triggering each other or feeling more empowered by the keyboard. It's an interesting space that can go either way. So the goal and the intention is to keep this dialogue, this conversation, this session open to stimulate folks really to do some self-reflection. As a coach, I'm not one so much to tell people what to do, although I've been in nutrition, healthy eating, competition, personal training for years, over 3 decades, 3.5 decades. But I'm not really here to tell people what to do. I do think perhaps people can benefit from insight. So perhaps it doesn't have to take you 35 years to get to the root of what is driving your autopilot behaviors, um, and balancing out some satiation and enjoyment without compromising um, our vitality, our health, our literal health insurance. So if you're new here, I'm Body Culinary, professional chef, personal trainer, natural born woman, mother. And on my channel, I share some of my journey of radical self-acceptance. What that looks like for me is really celebrating and being comfortable and creative with the features that I have been divinely assigned. And I also share 3 leveraged lifestyle practices. And those leveraged lifestyle practices are, and I call them leveraged because they give you back so much more for the investment of your time, your energy, your intention, your focus, right? So those 3 leveraged lifestyle practices are what I coin peaceful consumption. Whatever label you want to put on it is your BI bubble I business. It's not so much about the labels, it's really about results and what you can sustain over time. So peaceful consumption, which basically means food that demonstrates based on results that it loves you back, right? That although it's tasty, it's not destroying your arteries, it's not compromising your nervous system, it's not beating up, your arteries or your colon. It's not robbing you of your vitality, your juiciness. It's not breaking your skin out, right? Peaceful consumption, food that demonstrates that it loves you back. A daily personal movement practice, you could call it exercise. I'm very picky, or very intentional rather, about language, right? Because language psychologically can open us up to possibilities, or it can make us really feel hopeless. So a daily personal movement practice, not just for aesthetics, even though we are in an age of heightened hyper aesthetics. It's really about self-administered therapy, right? And all of us could use some therapy, some therapeutic practices that we have access to on a regular basis, right? So daily personal movement practice and garden slash nature therapy. So right now there's a lot. I feel so fortunate. Maybe I'll see if I can turn the camera around and show you the view. Um, to be surrounded by nature or a garden, and before anybody says, "Oh, you live here," or anybody, no. I've been in an apartment in Brooklyn, in cold New York City, and I have been intentional about surrounding myself with plants, engaging in community gardens and small spaces, sharing gardens with people, volunteering. Nature is key. It's critical as a therapeutic lifestyle practice. So if you're looking for reasons to do something, you can find them. And today our snack is sugar cane from the local market. So I'm going to turn this around just for a second so you can see some of the view here. And we are just recovering from Tropical Storm Sarah, which has been very intense. We'll talk more about that later. But let's see. I don't know if you can see the view. You can get an idea. This is the river, fast moving, flowing. I don't know if you can turn the camera around here. How do you turn the camera around? I don't know. So maybe I could just walk around and give you a little bit of the view of the river. I wish you can hear. You can hear the river flowing really, really fast over here. So um, nature is critical. Garden slash nature therapy. Why? Because in an environment where you're being triggered all the time, we're being triggered all the time, right? Our fears around loneliness, anxiety, physical safety, being able to pay our bills. So it has an effect on your nervous system, on your cortisol, chemically, emotionally. Um, oh, a mango tree. This is nice. And this is me over here. So we're being triggered, and I see a fruit up here. I think this looks like cacao. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Two fruits over here. See? So we're being triggered all the time. Nature is also going to trigger your nervous system, but I would say it's triggering you kind of in the opposite direction. It triggers you into calm, right? In contrast to thinking of always taking exogenous or outside substances to calm your nervous system, nature has a specific, automatic, immediate triggering effect on your nervous system. And maybe because we're living in cities for so long, it's like some things are not clicking or translating just how important nature can be to your nervous system. So thus we run around spending more money on more things, and never seems to be enough clothes or enough food when you're in nature. And so one of my folks that I work with is a big nature walker. I'm sure she can attest to how nature, just going into nature, affects your nervous system, right? And many of us can feel very overwhelmed. It's just like a heightened, it's like an undertone today of a lot of nervous anxiety, and it's driving a lot of our appetites, our behaviors, our self-sabotage, and our self-medicating. So once we have an understanding of the root of what is driving our behaviors, then perhaps we are more likely to be able to have an effective, efficient, sustainable strategy, which is a different channel than dieting, constantly dieting and struggling to lose weight. Right? And the beautiful thing is with nature, it's like you don't have to talk so much. It's not a hard sell. Just going out in nature, it's like it can just calm you right down. Actually, I'm amazed that I can even recognize some of these trees. I see birds of paradise over here. I didn't know what these plants were before. It's like birds of paradise. It's going to make nice, beautiful orange flowers, there's mango, there's neem, and I think I see a cacao or a chocolate tree. So just the oohs and the ahs, that's the humility of nature. The fact that this is, we think of a chocolate bar. This is actually going to be, is this Monet or cacao? I don't know. But if you come down to visit me, you'll get to see. So you can let me know what kind of an effect. Oh, wow. And this one has berries on it. I tell you, I could get lost in nature. Right, the little berries. So it's like surprises, right? We're so tuned into the TV every day for surprises and entertainment. Some people might think it's boring. I think it's actually quite exciting. But most of all, the effect that it has on your nervous system. So again, the 3 leverage lifestyle practices: peaceful consumption, food that demonstrates that it loves you back; a daily personal movement practice, that means it's catered to you based on your body's and your nervous system's needs, and also what you desire. That could be walking, that could be dancing, anything that you like, but also coupled with the things that you need in terms of strength, mobility, and flexibility. And then we have garden/nature therapy. These are lifestyle practices that are going to continue to serve you when your hair is white, when you're old, quote unquote old, or you're more seasoned, as I like to say. These are habits, practices that can stay with you forever. And the longer you're in this journey, it's a discovery process. Just being in nature, your mind and everything slowing down, it can give you access to being more self-reflective, to really having better access, a better chance to getting to the root of your self-talk, seeing your own mental conditioning, and seeing how you understanding why we self-sabotage. You can't solve something, first of all, if you don't acknowledge or even notice that there's an issue or a problem, right? If you can't see it clearly and if you can't acknowledge it, you're not likely to change it, right? And a lot of us think there's nothing going on, that there's no problem. But some of us can feel and sense that there's something that's off. So get a coach. Right. So our subject matter today, what we're reflecting on, I invite you to use your journals, right, to really use them, especially this season. I don't like to wait for the new year. I think that's a scam. But to really make use of the tools that you have. There's, again, these leverage lifestyle practices and these tools, we grossly underestimate these tools. Maybe perhaps because a lot of times if you're doing it by yourself, you don't have the feedback, you don't have the interaction, you may not have the insight of somebody who's been doing practices longer. So sometimes feel like you're lonely or you're by yourself, and then also your ego, part of our self-identity, is comfortable with staying the same. So we usually don't go really, really deep into the discomfort or the emotion. Yet your journal, I invite you this season to really make active use of your journal. It is a powerful tool. If you can get into, and this is loaded, community, and I'm gonna put that into context. Discern and vet, just like you would vet somebody that you're dating or that you're romantically interested in, vet community. Like think of what you come to offer, what you'd like to get back, um, what kind of experience from the different people, your coaches, like what are you really looking for? Is it just to trauma bond, to feel better, or to complain? Um, do you want insight? Are you engaging with people that are also are engaged in challenging themselves with physical activity and physical fitness, who are really committed, excited, or taking the journey of changing the way that they eat to upgrade the way that they eat for their body? Folks that are actively engaged in nature walks or a running club or pole dancing, right? So when I say community, it's coming together around specific activities that can help to mitigate a lot of um, drama so that we have some positive interactions. So our talk today, what we're discussing today is when things don't go your way, overeat. Do you overeat? What do you consume? What do you overconsume, right? Without, and I invite you not to make yourself bad or wrong, but really to self-reflect. So that's perhaps something that you can write down in your journal. When things don't go my way, what kind of things don't go your way? You don't get a call back from an audition or a job you're going for or somebody you are attracted to that you have an interest in. Let's say you got fired. Oof, that's a loaded one in this economy. For me, my example is we were just about, not even 2 weeks ago, putting a big layer of finishing touches on our new retreat space, my sister and I. And right after we finished cleaning, we got hit by tropical storm Sarah, and we got deeply flooded. Like where I'm sitting at now, all of this was like here with water. So my new yoga mats, our pillows. I just realized one of my new big flower pots went somewhere down the river. Gone. What do you do? That's a lot of money paying for shipping from the States. What do you do when things don't go as planned or as you had intended, when you don't have a smooth day at work? So I invite you to take a moment to self-reflect inside of your journal. Like, what has been your pattern? What's been your pattern when things don't go your way? When you're in traffic, you go into road rage. When you're in line or somebody skips a line or, somebody's rude to you, that's not things going as we had planned. We usually leave the house with a good attitude if we're rested. But by the time we start engaging with other human beings or we get some news or things shift out of our ideal, we get triggered. What do you do when things don't go your way? Have you ever started eating? When you're eating, when things don't go your way, when you're consuming fuel, when you're consuming energy, can you discern whether it's for a chemical hit, something chemical, something soothing in terms of the taste, which is it's like this, a short time inside of your mouth as your saliva mixes with it. It's usually not like deep thought of as far as the mechanics of what's taking place, right? As far as like to be able to really acknowledge, like, I'm getting some kind of a chemical fix because we're so caught up in the senses, like the taste, the sweet, the salt, sugar, salt, fat, sugar, salt, fat, sugar, salt, fat. Usually not bitter, usually not astringent, right? But we're usually, there's something that's happening, and I don't think we are very reflective on it. If anything, usually there's a part of our psyche that there's like an internal dialogue that's actually very judgmental, and that can keep us even deeper in the cycle, right? Because it's like the judgmental tone, we're beating up on ourselves and we're not feeling good about self-soothing. In one sense, it feels soothing. There's something physical, chemical, emotion, definitely emotional, right? With the dopamine and with the different taste sensations. And at the same time, we don't feel good if we know we're eating more than our body needs. So it's like it's there's something going on that we don't explore a lot, and it is socially acceptable. So, Lily, any thoughts? Still out there, Miss Lily?
I'm still here. I don't really have anything to say because I agree with all of what you just said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But do you have any thoughts? Can you think of a time where, I don't know, for me, I'm very sensitive to cold. It could be I'm so cold. I just finished like a long day of work. Usually I'm starting like usually 4:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm in front of a client, working all day, sometimes trying to, working my food in between and my movement practice in between my clients. And then when it gets bitter, bitter cold outside, and a lot of times I ride my bicycle home and my hands are blue, that for me is like a trigger. So even with eating living foods for years, I used to drink a whole lot of hot tea and then I stopped. I was super strict for like well over a decade, 11 years, and just wanted to heat my body up with just the food. And I stopped drinking tea. But I felt physically so uncomfortable that it felt primal. I just wanted to be warm and soothed and comforted. So I can identify when I reflect that that's a trigger. That's a big source of discomfort for me. If I feel like it's a whole psychological, emotional thing when I feel like my hands are blue, my skin is chilled. that makes me want to seek soothing. And that can turn into a lot of different things. So some people, it can start, let's say, for example, with tea, with honey, then add milk, and then add cream, and let's add a croissant, and let's add some vegan Oreos. It's like it can become a whole avalanche, just physically. Like the physical discomfort can send you to a state where you want to self-soothe. Does that make sense?
Yes, I can relate,
Mm-hmm.
especially after work. Too much stimulation, too much stimulation from working sometimes, like when you get home, well, in my case, when I get home, I find that I have to take the time to to what's the word I'm looking for? Like when
Decompress.
you try to, yeah, that thank you. When you try to
Mm-hmm.
decompress, and over time I've learned to make sure I have an environment where I can decompress, that I have the tools ready for me, because as soon as I get home, I don't necessarily have the energy to cook or do certain things. So knowing that I have something ready in the fridge for me, or I know that the environment is already set up in a way that it allows me to decompress, is very important. And I feel like I think people in general need that. I think people need time to decompress, um, to actually, for me, in for me, I I need quiet time. Like being around a lot of kids all day, being around a lot of traffic, the honking, the I'm
Mm-hmm.
always around hundreds of cars every day. I'm around so many different people. When I get home, I need time where there's no loud noise. There's not a lot of stimulation, no nothing, just quiet, and a very simple environment where everything is just easy for me to access. And that's how I regain my energy and my ability to do the things I want to do. So I think a trigger for me would be too much stimulation. Too much stimulation makes me want to eat, like what you were talking about with like comfort. Like depending on the trigger is how I eat. Like sometimes if it if I don't feel enough joy or purpose, I use starch as a means to feel comfort or excitement, or like candy, sweets, all that stuff. Instead of actually taking the time to actually do something that's not eating, or do something that's more fulfilling, like art, or like for me in particular, I like walking. That makes me really, I'm fulfilled. I love it. I love nature watching. I love animals. I love, you know, sitting by the lake and watching the water ripple, the ducks, the geese, all that stuff. It's very calming and relaxing, and it's very enriching. And I feel like, people in general have to find something that's healthy, that's like not a substance, like something healthy where, there's no negative side effects from it. Like walking and, paying attention to nature is actually really good for your nervous system.
Mm-hmm. Wow, you just said a lot. It's so interesting. I think because you're engaged in that conversation, let's say if I spoke to some family members or people that, uh, anyone that doesn't go out into nature, you just said a lot, but I think you are in a different space right now. Even people, I love walking. I remember a time where there was no walking. Do you remember that time? I know you love nature, but there was a time where you weren't walking. So, it's interesting to reflect on growth. I think sometimes we can't see it ourselves, but now walking is a part of your language. And it's not just like walking to get 10,000 steps. What I think is really profound and speaks for itself in terms of therapeutic lifestyle is that when you discover it, because before you were like so like tight on time, right? You still have the same job, the same work, but now your language is totally different in terms of like, wow, I enjoy walking so much. It's almost like it created the space on its own, your enjoyment, that it's been a gateway. It's like shifted your whole paradigm and your language around movement. So it doesn't sound to me like when you speak about walking, it doesn't sound like exercise, right? And even when I look at your journal from your heart rate monitor, when you put those add those beautiful pictures, I'm always like, my response, my nervous system's like wow, like that's so beautiful, right? So it's in my mind, I'm not thinking of exercise at all, you know. So I think I don't know. Do you see the difference? Do you see the difference
Um,
in language? And do you remember the time when you were just thinking about? I remember you just saying, "I like nature. I want a garden." You were just talking about it. Now your language is a part of your lifestyle now. Can you see?
um, um, First, I want to say, like, when people always say, like, "Oh, you'll make time," I can see why now they say that, because if it's important to you, you'll make time. Like what you said already, I'm still busy, I'm still working, but I'll find a way to get to the park and still, do my little nature walk and enjoy myself. If it's important to you, you'll find the time, or you'll move things around, cut things, or do whatever is necessary to find the time to do the things you enjoy. And I feel like, you, like what you just said before, like, there's a difference between talking about it and fantasizing and reminiscing about something, as opposed to actually doing it. It's a completely different experience. Whenever I actually park my work vehicle and then I walk out, um into the park, I'm in a different world. Well, I'm in actual reality. I feel like I'm actually, I'm more present, I'm more awake, I'm more aware of my body and the sensations within my body. I feel like, I feel more myself while I'm walking in nature. It's not just me looking around at all of the plants and the animals. It's more like I'm observing myself in a natural environment where there's no expectation, no artificial expectation placed upon me while I'm walking. I'm just existing, and I'm enjoying my existence with no expectations. Like, I'm just happy to be alive. I'm happy to have the opportunity to walk. And I feel like when I'm doing my walks, I'm more grateful and more thankful, because I get the time to think about, just the ability to walk. Like, sometimes the park that I go to is like really hilly, and I'm like, my heart rate goes up when I'm going up the hill, and I can feel my heart pumping. I can feel my joints, and I can feel like the stress that I have built up in my legs from all the hours of driving go away. And it's like, okay, I'm so thankful that I'm able to walk. I'm so thankful that I'm able to see. I'm so thankful that I'm able to breathe this crisp, beautiful air and listen to all these birds and see the trees and the colors and all of that. And while, I'm thinking about that, I'm also simultaneously thinking about, like, we have issues, and I'm thinking about my issues, but I noticed that while walking, they come and go. And I remember years ago, I was trying to figure out how in meditation people have, when they say, like, when you sit there, you just allow your thoughts to come and go. I never understood it. And but while I'm walking, I noticed that I think about stuff and then I release it. And then I think about something else and I release it. And by the time I end my walk, I feel lighter. I feel more fulfilled. I feel happy. I feel like, it actually, it changes the mood. It's how do I explain it? Like, it makes me feel good for the rest of the day, because I already know, like, around, yeah, everybody's in traffic. It gets really bad, but now that I got my fix in, the thing that was important to me first, I feel great about that. I don't have to try to, like, find the energy to enjoy myself after work when I could have done it, before rush hour. Um I really feel like there is a lot of healing in nature. I just feel like everybody, you can always find something to do in nature, whether it's running in the grass, playing football. Like, the one thing I like about walking too, um, is that I like to people watch. And while I'm at the park, you see people walking their dogs. You see people, playing football in the grass. People that are doing yoga in the grass. You see people jogging. You see people do all these different things. And in nature, it's literally like a living room, or, your own playground. You can always find something to do in nature. um and I feel like in nature anybody can find anything. There's always something to do, always. And I noticed that people, like, there's this one guy I was watching, he was taking pictures of these particular birds. I was being nosy, and I actually looked up the type of bird to see what he was looking at, and I found that it was a migratory bird, and it eats certain foods. It's like, I just find it fulfilling to be at the park, because it's mentally stimulating in a way that is not overpowering my nervous system. If anything, it resets my nervous system. I calm down, and um, it helps a lot, especially with processing like certain decisions I want to make. Like, I really, really love going to the park. It's not just walking. It's more than that. It's like, it's multifaceted for me. Um, I wish more people would just go for a walk. Just literally, not don't be on your phone. Put the phone down. I leave my phone in my vehicle. I don't take, well, no, my phone is, no, I have my phone on me, but that's not because I have to have my heart rate monitor on. What I mean to say is that I usually keep it in my pocket. I don't have my phone on. I don't have no headsets on while I'm walking around for about 25 minutes. The park has my complete and utter attention. But I feel like people would get more out of the park if they actually find, time to actually just walk around and just hear your thoughts. And it's kind of like spending time with yourself, like quality time. It's different. It's not the same, like, of, you staying home and you're in the bed, watching TV or scrolling on social media. Is different. It's like your attention is elsewhere. You're focused on your body and your surroundings, as opposed to the social media, your job, or whatever else that you have to do. And I feel like it's important to take time to have a relationship with your body and your mind, like, literally, just, and not, just take the time to listen to yourself, feel your body. Because I feel like, especially from my experience, a lot of us are disconnected, and we don't pay attention to our bodies. And when you don't do that, what usually happens over time is that you start to develop a lot of ailments. And then one day you're gonna wake up and you're older, and you didn't realize that you were ignoring your knees, you were ignoring your joints, you were ignoring your stomach, you were ignoring your skin, you were ignoring your eyesight. And when you could have taken the time to actually listen to your body, and then take care of your body, because you can get like one body. There's no redos. And when you think about it that way, how fragile, how precious, your body is powerful, but it's also very fragile at the same time. And once you, like, really think about your mortality, for real, you'll actually take care of yourself. Because as time go on, you get older, time passes, your body, it needs maintenance, and your mind as well. And when you take the time to do that, then you can, go through life and enjoy nature more. You can um enjoy, like, the privilege of walking, and being able to use your hands. I've been watching, this is one person that I was watching on social media. He just started cruising, and he's in a wheelchair. I never knew how hard it would be if I did not have the ability to step up to go into the bathroom. He was
Wow.
this person on social media was very upset because he didn't have access to an actual disability room, so he had a regular room. If people really understood how fortunate they are to be able to sit, stand, walk, to reach for something, people, you would actually have a better respect for your body. Because he's paralyzed from the waist down. He can't stand in the shower. He can't reach for certain things. He can't access the pool. He was pointing out a lot of things that I wasn't even aware of, that somebody in a wheelchair experience on the regular. And I'm like, wow. And I'm like, I'm over here complaining about bills, and I'm like, I'm not even appreciating the fact that I can walk or
What?
work or
Honest with you, Miss Lloyd, you really make me smile right now because I don't think you have any idea. You just described what I've been saying all these years. So you've had a paradigm shift. The way you just described walking, you didn't say anything about exercise. That is what I'm experiencing when I say a daily movement practice. It's a discovery. It's a discovery about yourself. It's a discovery about nature. It's just something. It's something different. It's something to be experienced. And I often think like, wow, so many people, definitely so many women are missing out if they only knew, right? When we tune in social media, it's usually about what, you know, yoga pants you have on, or what sports bra, or what sneakers you have on. You didn't mention any of that. You mentioned that you're totally engaged, no headphones. You know how hard it is to usually get somebody to do some kind of quote unquote cardio or some movement without headphones and music. So you just described, I don't even know if you realize the magnitude of your growth, right? Because sometimes we can be very hard on ourselves. We think we're not progressing, but I told you what you just described, like I'm just blown away by your experience, right? That you've had a total paradigm shift. And that's the beauty of coming together with focused, intentional community. And when I say intentional, right, I like to focus on those three leverage lifestyle practices: peaceful consumption, food that demonstrates it loves you back, a daily personal movement practice. These are lifestyle practices, literally, and then garden slash nature therapy. So the part is, and actually, these principles, they are principles throughout life, right? They're, I keep saying it, they serve you. They'll serve you until your hair is white. The nature, what is your nervous system, how it affects your mood, and dopamine for you to even express how you feel fulfilled. I could go years and never hear people have a conversation about how they feel fulfilled from nature, feel fulfilled from nature or during their movement practice. You can go through it. Like I feel a lot of dopamine. I feel excitement. I actually feel fulfilled during a movement practice. But when we hear the term holistic, you just described a holistic experience. And I think it's even more powerful because it's so natural, it just rolls right off of your tongue. You know, so that's tremendous growth. That's really, you know, my hope for everyone to have an experience like that. And because now that it's your lifestyle, the more you take those walks, the more you have that experience, and the more you share your experience, right? Remember, we've spoken about the imprints on your psyche, the imprints on your brain, right? So the things that have been done to us, and things we've experienced, we can't change that, right? Um, and usually, in spite of our best intentions or momentary enthusiasm or New Year's, or it leaves. It usually doesn't last. But when you are fully engaged in the experience, it is night and day. It's not so much of a struggle because you stay engaged and you ask questions and you're having new experiences. Eventually, over time, there'll come a time when you have more new positive experiences than the old experiences. So the other stuff didn't leave, but you put new imprints onto your psyche. You put new frames of reference into your brain computer, right? And it can be important. I think it's important to make those distinctions. Why? Because when you make those distinctions, that's how you don't go back. When you can discern, it's like, I feel better. Okay, but what's the distinction? How is it you now feel more fulfilled from walking where before it would have seemed that you didn't even have the time to walk? What happened? What took place? How did you get to the point where you even went out walking in the first place, right? A lot of it was conversation, suggestions, trying things on new for size, getting a bicycle, going to new areas, in your ride or at work. So the community aspect, the feedback, when folks say usually like-minded people, if more people are having that experience, it's a win-win situation. It's a win-win situation. So a lot of that, it's not. You can get a lot of good information on social media. The other part of what you mentioned, I think, is so powerful, is that you're describing a lived experience. And right now, if many of us sort of put one of the little apps that show your screen time online, you would be horrified. I got rid of TV a long time ago, but it came through the back door with these screens, right? So even being engaged, for business or to interact with people, globally, you spend a lot of time on these little handheld. devices, and it is having an effect on our nervous system. It's having an effect on our brain. If you really think about it, it's kind of wild because most of the experience that we're having on these screens is kind of not, it's not real. You can't touch it. It's scripted, or you're watching somebody else's what's the word, like a it's a word when you're living vicariously through somebody else. But you're watching somebody else, but you're not actually engaged. What you just described was you being fully engaged, and also, um, like I said, sometimes I can hear a smile through the phone in your tone. It's a different experience. Where is the pill for that? There is no pill for that. That is something to be directly experienced. If you're not engaged in that process, then it will forever be elusive, right? We'll forever be going online talking about, what can I do for flabby arms? What can I do for this? You're engaged in the process of life, right? So your form is going to follow your function. You don't have to worry so much about your form and what you look like when you are actually engaged in the processes of life, right? It's built into the garden. It's built into nature and walking, observing nature. It's built into a daily movement practice. It's built into the garden. It's built into peaceful consumption. You preparing, for the most part, your own food, shopping for it, picking it out of a tree. It's the fitness aspect, the nervous system aspect. It's already built in. That's actually what holistic is, but it's not just about looking at it. Today we look at it, or we look at somebody else doing it, but we're not engaged. So the transformation that most of us seek will forever be elusive because we don't even realize like how hypnotic it is, these screens. We're actually not engaged in life. That's actually kind of, I don't know, I find it kind of alarming. Any thoughts, Lily?
I can agree. When I was younger, like five, when I well about five and up, whatever. I was younger. I used to watch, a lot of nature documentaries like on Channel One and Channel 12, NBC and all that stuff. Nat Geo, all that stuff. And I was fascinated with nature. And fast forward to now as an adult, I still like watching nature documentaries, and I love it. But there's a difference between watching it and actually experiencing it.
Mm-hmm.
When and this ties into the whole movement practice thing, and actually showing your body some love, because when you go out there and you travel, you need a certain level of fitness to be able to experience the wonders of the world. When I had went to Mexico, it made me really aware of my fitness level, and how my body reacted to dry heat. Now, that's no joke. Dry heat is no joke. And how the locals, they walking around, they're not even sweating. I'm over here sweating like crazy, and I'm like tired because of the heat, and I'm drinking tons of water. And on top of that, I'm out of shape, and all this other stuff. And like, but at the same time, not to complain about it, but just to illustrate why it's important, because I was enjoying myself, but I was also very much aware that I was struggling to get up the steps to get to the pyramid. Um, and I can acutely remember me breathing hard. I can remember my legs shaking. I can feel my weight going up all those steps with the combination of the heat. I can remember how my environment smelled. I can, the trees, the sensation of the wind, the heat. It's not the same as watching a documentary. It's absolutely not, because a real experience is when you can see it, feel it, hear it, smell it, and taste it. It's completely different. And although I struggled to get up those stairs, but I was so proud and I was so happy, because it was like a surreal moment where I actually did something I never thought I could do. And it was kind of like, it was an out of body experience for me a couple of times, because sometimes I'm standing in front of the pyramid like, am I really here? This is insane. It's not this. When you when we're all on social media, right, everything is curated, but it's not the same when you actually live it. It's not curated. You're actually experiencing minute by minute real life.
Mm.
There's no fluff. And I also learned, don't go traveling with all the makeup. Oh, listen, if you want the hair and the makeup and stuff like that, but if you I learned was in Jamaica. I was wearing a lace front wig, right? That bad boy slipped right off when I was trying to do the excursion. I was over here trying to, waddle in the water and it slipped off. I'm
You said
just
dolphin
saying.
excursion?
Yeah, it was a cruise. I can't remember what year it was, 2022 or two. Yeah, I think it's 2022. We had a stop at Jamaica, and I actually it was a dolphin. It's called Dolphin Cove in, I think it was Montego Bay, Jamaica. And at the time, I was wearing. I love makeup and hair, but I was wearing like a full face of makeup, and I had a lace front on. And I wanted to. I've never seen dolphins in real life. I really wanted to go. I was so scared. And I was trying to like talk myself out of it. But anyway, I ended up doing it, and I don't regret going. Um, Dolphins are so beautiful. They're kind of, I don't know, they're really big. It's a difference, in seeing them in real life than online. They're very smart. Their skin, I actually got the opportunity to feel the skin, the texture of the skin is very rubbery and mushy, but firm.
Mm.
Anyway, so while I was when I went to Dolphin Cove, um the excursion that I had booked was the platform dolphin encounter, and I was scared out my mind. Mind you, I can't swim worth a damn. So that tells you something. And I had the nerve to go out there with a full face of makeup, a lace run on, and nails. And I think what I learned from that interaction was next time I do something in like travel, I'm just gonna come with my natural hair, no makeup, no nothing, because it's easier to navigate your environment, and it's more enjoyable. Also, your makeup does kind of in the heat, it melts, it sucks, you sweat. Um, I'm just saying this because as women, we love beautification, but I feel like it's better to be beautiful in a
I
controlled environment where there's AC.
right. I'm not anti makeup. I mean, my first priority is health, but I have to say, I start when it's dark, and I like a vigorous sweat. I don't feel good if I haven't really exerted myself. Sometimes I was like, I don't know how folks do it, because and then if I go from my workout to preparing something real quick to drink or some green juice, then I go out to the garden. Then I'm going to the market. Then I'm with the bunnies. I'm like, I don't know how people do it. I can't. I don't find it functional. I don't find it.
I
I don't find it functional. I like it. Also, I like it when it looks natural, not too like artificial or looking clownish. But I just don't understand how people do it. Sometimes somebody might call me on the fly to say, "Oh, we want to go to down south or go in a canoe or go in the ocean," and I need to just jump and go. Hey, Tamiko. Greetings, Rhonda. Greetings, Landon. So yeah, I hear you. I'm not anti beautiful. I like beautification, but I think also I want to feel free. If it starts raining, I don't want to feel like, oh my gosh, I can't do this and that with my hair. So I would say, for me, and everyone's a little different. For me, embracing my natural features is a big part of enjoying a healthy lifestyle, because a sweat, it's a part of it. And in so many Pacific culture, if you have, Afro hair, we don't want to sweat out our press and curl or our perm or our doobie or whatever. But it's holding us back from so much adventure. I can't tell you, I've been like in a canoe, and it started raining, pouring down. And then, here in Central America, it could be pouring down rain in 1 minute, and the next minute, it's not raining. And I could just air dry as we're moving along. So, being able to really enjoy your features without, as someone that's had a lot of acne, I know what it's like too to be training at like a top gym, and I've got these corporate clients. But at one point, my acne was so intense and the scarring, I didn't want to wear it, but I felt obligated to put makeup on to look a certain kind of way for clients. And I remember, usually working out with a lot of my clients, so I'd be on the treadmill, like, and I'm sprinting and I'm sweating, and I'm like, it was just, I found it so uncomfortable. So I'm like, hats off to the women that can do it. I don't see how it's functional.
um what I what in terms of the makeup, what I've seen is like you see a lot on social media that we like a lot of women they're usually dressed to the nines when they go on these trips, like to Bali or like do those excursions. But the truth is, if you actually went on those trips with the full 9 yard, um you're gonna sweat it. You're gonna sweat it, your makeup off. Your hair is gonna get frizzy. It's because they're doing it for the look of it. It's curated, because right after they take that picture, they in some AC, they're drinking their cold water, and they're chilling. They're not like outside for hours on end. And I don't think there's nothing wrong with like the heat or like the weather. I love rain. I love rain, and I love running around in it. I'm not afraid of dirt. I used to play. I used to play a lot in dirt. We used to be coming the house dirty. One of the things that, from childhood, after we played in the backyard, our mom would have us go in, and we all have to take a bath before we had dinner, and then we wash our hands and go to sleep. But I feel like dirt, that's in and of itself a different experience. It's a great thing. It's nothing wrong with getting your hands dirty. Um, you can still be like a really femme or like highly dressed up person and still love dirt. Two things can be true at the same time. Like, not being afraid of getting dirty doesn't mean it's not like it's not part of your character. Like, doesn't you understand what I'm saying? Like, some people want to avoid it because they don't want to be associated with dirt. I'm like, you're not going to die if you play in the mud or you play in the dirt. But a lot of these, when you travel.
What about as an older woman? What are the kind of, if you really think about it, it's kind of wild. Because just so you know, when you come here, when y'all come to visit, we're going to be walking. We're going to really be in nature. So you really need to, I tell people all the time, you're going to have to wear comfortable shoes. Because when we're hiking to the top of Shinantinic, it's a journey, but it's so much excitement along the way in terms of different birds. Actually, in my yard this morning, there was a toucan in my yard. My sister found a toucan inside the yard, inside one of the trees. So, you have to be able to move unencumbered, like way down, and, not afraid to sweat or to break a nail, right? We're going to be in the garden. We just are. By the way, Tamiko, I sent you the link, right? So if you're in our coaching, you should have the link if you want to jump on. So I know you're here on YouTube, but there's a link if you're in Sunday coaching. You should have one inside your Discord DMs, so you can come on. But hey, yeah, it's a functional lifestyle to me. It's fun. Also, if you focus, I think our best beauty I've observed as someone that's had a lot of acne, that our best beauty products really is health, because you have a quote unquote a natural glow. If your skin is healthy, you don't have to. You can play with makeup if you want, but you're not obligated to wear it. You don't have to feel like you can't walk out in the street. And sometimes I feel like the beauty has, I don't know, somehow it's become like a prison when it shouldn't be that. Like accenting and playing around, and when we like flowers, we like scents and to style our hair different ways. But somehow it's become like a prison where you feel like you can't go outside without that stuff. And then also, women can be highly critical of each other if you don't have a lace front, if you don't have this, if your locks and your edges are not slicked down. It's also women put a lot of pressure um, on each other. So it takes a lot of courage to break free and to set the priorities. What is the priority for me? Priority is movement. If I have a choice, and again, I'm not anti makeup. If I have a choice between being fit and having clear, healthy skin without makeup, and being fit or having makeup, give me the fitness and the clear skin all day, every day. I want what's sustainable. I don't want to feel like the letdown of when I take something off where it's really drastic. I'm talking about when it's drastic and I don't look like me. I felt that even I wasn't a big makeup wearer, but I felt like, and today I think it's much more pronounced, where you look so dramatically different, almost unrecognizable, without all of this stuff on. Even the struggle of someone with a texture of hair that's very prone to dryness and whatever. And I've done all kinds of styles and been natural for decades. But I'm at a phase of life where I prioritize movement over spending hours on my hair. It's just a priority. I want to be able to go from the garden to bike riding to the market to somebody calling me to go on a quick trip. So if I look at the priorities in terms of fulfillment, right? And that fulfillment, I think, is very distinct because What I've observed as a coach and as somebody that comes from a history of self-soothing with food, if we were to stop and to think, I don't know if any of you can relate, like, how come I just ate a whole bunch of food and I'm still not full, right? The stomach is very small, right? So we've eaten more food. You know, a lot of us we're eating, to be quite honest, to the point of deformity. We're actually distending the organs. And there's a cognitive dissonance, there's a disconnect. We're eating to the point where we're overloading the arteries, the organs, the colon, right? We can intellectualize that, but something is overriding our logic. And one of them is definitely we're triggered. The 6 basic fears we talked about a lot earlier on this channel. Fears of poverty, death, sickness, let's say illness, poverty, old age, and criticism. Those the 6 basic human fears are being triggered a lot. They will override all logic, and I don't think we realize how at lightning speed it's being triggered all the time. Your physical safety is being triggered, and it affects your body and your mind, your emotions chemically, and it affects you emotionally. And we are triggered. We're conditioned to seek out sugar, salt, fat, chips, all different kinds of chips and dips and alcohol. But how do these substances strengthen your nervous system? How do they get to the root of what is causing the anxiety? But many of us are not really thinking that deep. And part of it, rather than making ourselves bad or wrong, it's a pace. There's a chaotic, a frenzied pace to avoid those fears, right? It's built in. We're trying to avoid those fears, and they're being triggered all day long, right? So again, the reflection today in the journal, and Tamiko, you're welcome to do the self-reflection. Any of you are welcome to do the self-reflection. When things don't go your way, what are you overeating or over-consuming, right? Is it for true hunger? Can you discern if there's a lack of fulfillment? And can you discern when you've eaten a whole lot of delicious, tasty food, but somehow it still didn't hit the spot? What's the spot that we're trying to hit? Can you be fulfilled from a meal? Is the meal limited to the physical sensations of hunger? Is the meal, is part of your meal or your consumption pattern sitting in nature, eating slowly and savoring each bite? Is it sharing it and looking at the smile on somebody else's face? It's like I break off my sugar cane and I break it off with Tamiko and Lily, and I share my sugar cane with you, and you're crunching it, and we're all smiling and laughing at the sugar cane, and we're doing a taste test, of the sugar cane. Is that part of the fulfillment of the eating in groups? Are we doing it conscientiously, or are we mindless in our eating? Do you slow down to self-reflect, to notice? And this is why I encourage you this season, I invite you not to wait for the new year, to be very interactive with your journaling. It's one of many tools, but to really maximize the tools that you have available to you, right? The self-reflection, the interaction, and the feedback is one of the biggest, well, there are numerous benefits of when you're interacting with coaches, right? Because our ego doesn't allow us to see ourselves, right? If you're deep inside of something, inside of a problem or a situation, the ego can't see itself, right? That's not its job. The ego is not self-reflective. The ego, or that part of our psychic or our mental processing, its job is security. It's security. Now, it's kind of interesting. Its job is security in the sense to keep us safe, though subconsciously that safety could register as feeling safe with drugs in terms of numbing us out so we don't have to deal with impending or perceived danger, right? So it's kind of twisted. And we graduate with numerous degrees out of school without really understanding our psyche. So it leaves us very vulnerable to being manipulated or never being able to master or contend with our own minds. But companies understand. Predators, pimps, preachers, pharmaceutical companies all understand the psyche, unfortunately, more than we do. And even if you read information, the information is still not giving you feedback as you question, as you process the nuances of the information. Um, Reading it is not necessarily application. If you don't apply it, then you don't have feedback. This is why many of us are stuck or we plateau when it comes to change, and we're not understanding why, and then we beat up on ourselves. So this is part of the coaching process. So today, this is our Sunday coaching, because the goal is whole, fresh living, and unprocessed foods, energy, fuel, fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, herbs, whatever label you want to call yourself. Everybody can benefit from those things. So where you want to get your protein sources, and that's on you. But the goal is to recognize, and it's up to you to also use your journal to be reflective. If you have a certain set of results or a lack thereof results, it's a result of what you have been doing, what you have been consuming. It's a result of your mindset. So that's where it gets kind of sticky, because reading a book, it can take you there, but for the most part, if you look at the results, most of us are not getting critique, not necessarily the same thing as criticism, and feedback, and many of us are not in the application of principles consistently over time, right? The momentary enthusiasm, it wears off. And the mornings get cold and you don't feel like getting up. So when you're working with coaches, I know I usually work with coaches all the time, and I've been a coach um, for several, over 3 decades. The process of coaching is, hopefully, if you're working with somebody that you trust, getting out of your own head, out of your own ego. Remember, the ego is a part of our psyche that wants to stay the same because it is familiar, right? It stays the same because it is familiar. Anything that seems like dramatic change is perceived as a threat to our identity. So where can that show up? For example, that can show up whereas you're stressed, you just came in from work, and you're irritated, and you immediately go to some vegan cookies. You got a big 3-row pack of vegan Oreos. It's not for true hunger or nutrition, right? But it's the comfort, it's the soothing, it's maybe memories of somebody giving you cookies or candy, right? It has nothing to do with your blood sugar being out of whack, right? Because 3 rows of a big pack of Oreos, and many people today are insulin resistant, but we're not making the connection. We're not bridging the cognitive dissonance. The cognitive dissonance is even encouraged today in society. So I like to say a lot of times you're on your own, right? It's up to us uh, to identify the conflict of interest for anybody that's standing in front of you giving you a solution. I invite you to consider if the solution that's being offered to you is giving you 10 more problems, right? This past week we were talking a little bit about the O, the Zem, and the Pick. And yesterday, my sister and I, we were on her live, and somebody brought up Ozempic. And I think it's fascinating how folks want to do things quick and without making them bad or wrong, skip over the process. But grown functioning adults not researching and not looking at the long-term effects, right? So if a solution is going to give you 10 more problems, most people are not even doing a check to look at, to check out the nauseousness, which is most people, and vomiting, um, potential kidney failure, um, fat redisposition around the body. Many of us are not doing due diligence because we're triggered. And we may not think of ourselves as desperate, but there's a desperation to lose weight, right? Which is why I like to reframe it as release weight, right? There's that intentional language because they have two different fields. Two different feelings. One opens up the realm of possibilities, and one is kind of dejected. This is just the way it is. The lose weight has a lot of internal judgment and criticism on it. Release weight has possibilities and accountability, and responsibility is built in. So we're not thinking very effectively or efficiently when it comes to our own personhood and our own health. When you go into the job, it's already set up for you. It's already systematized. It's built in. But if you remove a lot of the jobs, let's say if AI displaces, 70% of the population, let's say 70% women or men, people are going to be stuck, right? Because if we can't maintain order with our own bodies. We do it for the job because it's kind of easy because it's already set up for us. But many of us haven't demonstrated, even professionals, corporate people, that we maintain that order in our own body temples for ourselves for health and longevity, right? It's a little bit tricky. So when it comes to things not going your way, do you overeat without making yourself bad or wrong? I invite you to have a healthy sense of curiosity. What do you choose to eat? What textures? What temperatures? When do you choose to eat it? Do you have a stash of stuff inside of your glove compartment? Do you have a stash of Smart Pop, fat-free popcorn, or fat-free gummy bears? What is the texture? What is the color? Where do you get it from? Do you have a stop along your route home where you're triggered and you usually stop that for a slice of pizza, or you stop off at the health food store? I remember I used to get the expensive bags of kale chips before they were popular. What is it? The texture? Is it crunchy? Is it slimy? Is it sweet? Is it hot? Is it cold? Is it spicy? What are you going to physically, which is going to have a trickle down effect emotionally and chemically? What are you going to for self soothing? Is it about nutrition? Is it about emotions? Is it about chemicals? I invite you to reflect in your journal. You can also share some of your reflections if you like in the Discord, in our coaching inside the Discord. Any thoughts, Lily, in terms of like
Um,
things don't go your way? Any kind of textures or specific foods that you notice are patterns that you would reach for?
Before I go into that, I just want to make a comment about the Ozempic thing. I just find it interesting that people are willing to pay $400 to $1,000 a month for Ozempic when you can get the same effect of satiation with vegetables or proper nutrition. You can you it can be done. You don't have to spend all that money. You can get a good amount of nutrition, and it doesn't have to be high calorie, and the nutrition usually has all the necessary vitamins you need for your body. So I don't think, I understand in some cases it's necessary because some people it's for medical purposes, because I think they use Ozempic and Mount Manjaro for like diabetic people and all that stuff. But like, you can still get satiation from eating proper nutrition, and you don't necessarily have to overeat. So it's kind of a waste of money when you're spending all that money when all you really need to do is,
Now, how would you know?
because I changed my nutrition, and I'm getting all my nutrition from fruits and vegetables and whole foods. And I didn't think it was possible to deal with, because I before the changes, I used to be crazy hungry all the time, miserable. I didn't understand why. Even though I made certain dietary changes, I was still hungry, and I didn't realize it was the amount of vegetables. I needed to up the amount of vegetables and
Oh, now you get.
fruits. Yeah, I get it now. And the thing is, it's like not even just the calories, but like it's packed with nutrition. And once your body gets the necessary vitamins, enzymes, water, and fiber, you won't be hungry if you eat enough of it.
So, how much
Um,
powder are you taking?
I'm sorry, say that again.
How much protein powder are you taking?
None. None. That's not necessary, really. And protein powder hurt. I used to take protein powder. It used to hurt my stomach. Oh my god. Um, it wasn't. It was hard to digest. I used to get a lot of bloat, gas. It was not. And I was trying to what? I was trying to intake about 150 to 200 grams of protein a day, which was really hard. Um, I don't. Anyway, though, I just want to.
At that time, how many hours of training or fitness or physical vigorous activity were you doing when you were taking all that protein?
I was going to the gym at the height of my protein intake. I was going to the gym 5 days a week, and I was doing about 40 minutes at a time. Some of the
That's,
half of it was weight training, and the other half was the stairmaster.
mhm.
Um,
It's interesting. I think sometimes we think, okay, and I've said this before to a lot of my folks, is that somebody that comes from bodybuilding fitness competitions, people don't consider 'cause the standard is set in terms of aesthetics by bodybuilders, right? And there's a reason why. But the average person is already eating in excess, right? So people are not considering their blood sugar. We already have a whole lot of excess fuel on us, but we start adding more. In addition to the fact that most people don't have a concept of how much fuel their body needs. If anything, people are hopping around from channel to channel, personality, influencer to influencer, but still don't understand for themselves how much fuel they need. But if we're continually gaining adipose tissue and water retention, that's telling us something about the quality or lack thereof of what we're eating. Most of us are not eating in a deficit. And even to so-called lose weight, I'd say weight release, it's actually really a slight deficit. It could be 100 to 200 calories. Easy, but most of us are overeating way more than we could even imagine if we were to run the numbers. I could run the numbers, but most of us don't have a concept, and it's very. I'm sure you can attest. Most people can attest. It's frustrating. One of the most challenging things in fitness and working with coaches, most people, it's the food journaling. That's one of the things, in addition to consistency with the exercise or their movement practice, is actually journaling. It's actually a lot packed in there in terms of guilt, shame, around when we're triggered and what we choose to go to when we're triggered. There's a lot packed in there. There's a reason why most people are not accountable. But people that are accountable to their food journal usually have the greatest success. I would say it's not just about the calories, yes, but it's so much bigger than calories, right? It's chemical, um, it's also emotional. Um, there's a lot more going in. If you're eating too much, that's why you're gaining weight. It's not from thyroid. I only have a little piece of a thyroid, right? My body runs very cold, easy for me to gain weight. We go on social media and we pay sometimes people to tell us good things about our ineffective, inefficient habits, especially if we like the way they look or the way they sing or if they got a good piece of muscle. But we're still not understanding what's going on with our own bodies. And, it's really tempting to just not be accountable because being accountable is confronting. It's confronting. It can make you angry. But who are you angry? Who do you get angry at? Any thoughts, Lily?
I agree. Especially about like why you're eating. I've what I've learned is like you kept saying over and over as a coach, like certain foods um behave differently in the body, and I didn't understand it until I kept having, I would go back and I would go back and eat certain foods that I knew that wasn't good for me. Like for example, I would eat like highly processed candy or chocolate, and what usually happens is I reach for it because I wanted something sweet. But what happens after I consume it is I get hungry, I become irritable, I become anxious. But when, like recently today, I had a piece of pineapple, I wanted something sweet. I had it, and I got my hunger, like the little craving satiated, but I didn't overeat. I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel anxious. I didn't feel it. It's a two completely different things. How food function in your how food behaves in the body is very important. So when you say it's not just hunger, is your feelings too. That makes sense. Um, and if it's just if you want to like I'm sorry, like if you want to like your cravings, if you want to satisfy your cravings, go for something more healthier. Like there's an apple, a piece of fruit. You can make a fruit salad. You can get the same fix without having to. I love the
And it's full of
sugar
water. This
cane.
is like this is a fraction of the sugar you eat if you ate some dried sugar. Actually, your teeth are squeaky clean. cleaner than with a toothbrush when you eat this, and it's hydrating. It's not the same. That's why the emphasis is whole, fresh, living, and unprocessed foods. If there's going to be any processing, you do the processing and you keep it to a minimum, because at some point it just becomes recreational eating. I think a lot, I think most of the food eating, even from the health food study we're doing, is based on recreation, if that makes sense. Not so much nutrition.
Um, it does, but I also, in my experience, it was not just for recreation. I ate because it was a form of control. Like, because my, like what you were saying before, like, why are you eating right now? Like, what has not gone in your way? Like, I've had a lot of things go bad in the day, and I just felt terrible. And the only thing I could control was to eat junk food. That
Mm.
was my form of control. And I feel like I'm not the only one that does that binge eat, because it's like their highlight of the day because their day was so stressful. um Mindlessly eating is also not good for you, because if you don't pay attention to what you're eating, you can easily overeat. And if you don't have
Raw
education or
vegan.
knowledge about what you
Even if it's raw vegan, you can eat. Ask me how I know. You can eat like 2 pounds of nuts quickly and eat enough calories for 2, 3 days. Okay.
a slice of pizza is 2,000 calories. I'm just letting y'all know. Like, you can eat your whole daily value of calories with once, oh my god, slice of pizza. And it's insane. It's insane. But if you opt for whole foods, fruits and vegetables, and you know whole foods, you can get a huge amount of nutrition, fiber, enzymes, and water. And you don't, it's not even like, for instance, like when I eat breakfast and lunch, like I'm eating a lot of vegetables now, the calories is like 200-300, barely. And I love sugar cane, especially when you leave it in the fridge. And then, you come home from school. My mom, we used to cut it up and leave it in the fridge. And when we come home from school, we used to eat that. Um, Love it. And sugar cane has fiber in it too. And it's
This
like,
is
it's a more,
the refined stuff is not healthy. If this was just plain sugar, I used to have so much pimples. I could just eat certain things and I could feel it, like the pimples starting to come out of my skin. I hated it. I was walking around fit and ripped. Even as somebody that was vegetarian, my face was so puffy. I was eating a lot of health junk. That's the truth. Not popular, but that's the truth. I was junk food enough. I just kept coming through the back door. I could tell myself, "Oh, I'm vegan." Yeah, but you could be very unhealthfully overweight and vegan. You know what I'm saying? It just is. My skin, and I knew that my skin was telling me about my liver. My skin was telling me your organs on the outside are telling you about what's going on in the inside. So I'm no fool. Working at a holistic health center and watching all these consultations over the years, people where the doctors couldn't do anything else for them. That was like, talk about a scared straight program. I could see what's coming. Also looking at all the cancer, um, uh, the what do you call it, amputations in my family, diabetes 1 and 2, all the cigarettes, alcohol, drugs, weed. I'm just saying from my own fit, I can see clear patterns. I got crystal clear. This and this equals this. There's nothing like clarity. There's nothing like clarity is worth its weight in gold. It really, really is. Really, really is. So I just want to say I'm just so proud of your progress. And even as I'm listening to you, I don't even know if you're aware of how much progress you've made. And I told you before, there's so many times you think you have perceived failures, but they're not necessarily failure. It's feedback, right? And again, engage in the process when you have a safe space to ask your questions and to benefit from somebody else's experience to shorten your learning curve, right? And then the encouragement, and then accountability and responsibility, and then excitement about new recipes. It becomes just an extension of your lifestyle. Eventually, you want it to be a no-brainer. Every time you go to the park, you have new epiphanies. If you try new fruits, you have new epiphanies. That's what keeps you excited, and engaged in the process. It makes all the difference. Not the same thing as dieting. Not the same thing. Night and day. Night and day. So I'm looking forward to continue to watch your progress as you evolve. And I'm encouraging you, Tamiko. I don't know if you're still there. Invite you all down to Crown Jewel because this is a space that I have curated um, for women to come to be fed the best food, to come dance, do African dance, Ashtanga yoga, sculpting, to learn how to do exercises properly and efficiently, to do corrective exercises if you have injuries, to get motivation to go home with a plan. You know, not just cerebral, but to learn what to do and experience some immersion just with some focus without the distraction, right? A place that we could go, get loved up on, fed up on, you know, and then reset before we go back out into the world. So I really want to acknowledge the women that have been rocking with me all this year: Tamiko and Lily Maru and T Ford and Regina. You know, the warriors. When people are rolling over, scratching their butts, sleeping. You know, these women show up for themselves. They invest in themselves. On Sundays, showed up for the 5 a.m. workout when it's dark in the winter and the summer, daylight savings time and beyond. And that's what it takes. People don't want to hear it on social media, but it's worth it. I know for years, I remember being sometimes the only woman, sometimes the only black woman in lots of classes and things. For years, I'm used to it. But the change and the transformation most of us are looking for, it's not coming from, no offense, not coming from saying empty prayers and Nam Yo Horenge Kill. You have to do something. It's going to require you getting uncomfortable. It's going to require you getting some critique, just like you do at your job. You know, all smart, successful people pay for coaches. Olympians pay for coaches. You know, I invite people, invest in yourself. You know, maybe pull something back from some of the makeup and some of the hair and some of the external stuff and focus on the internal, you know, so you can get some consistency going. Most of us are not consistent with our fitness. And again, this is not just about aesthetics. Most of us are sitting ducks when it comes to running, jumping, kicking, punching, being able to just defend yourself, having upper body strength. We're losing our grip strength. We're losing muscle, um, which moves the bones in our 30s, right? So we don't realize you turn around, you have no grip strength, the bones are weak, and osteoporosis. You have a slip or a fall, you know, you get a hip fracture, the quality of life goes down. We're not even talking about menopause. Many women are going to be left gagging because we're uninformed. It's the blind leading the blind, and we only focus with the aesthetics. But the aesthetics, the glow, the healthy tone, it comes from your lifestyle. So I encourage you all to invest in yourself, right? Because the job will replace you. People will replace you. You can't replace you. You cannot replace you. So uh, if you are interested in coaching, reach out to me. We meet every Sunday, usually at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Um, Let me know if you're interested in coming down to spend some time with me to focus on yourself in Belize in Central America. That's going to be a trip. There's a lot that we have in store, but this focus is whole, fresh living, unprocessed foods. I could care less what you label yourself. Is really about the results. So you can start wherever it is that you are. And it's really also about cultivating a movement practice. If your gateway is going to be walking, if you have injuries, everybody can do something, right? So just say I had an injury back in 20, you know, or 19 so-and-so. If you give yourself excuses, you're going to be gagging. Because if you sit still and you do nothing, if you don't learn to work around that injury and do corrective exercise, we're going to be left in a not so good place. And who wants to rely on mean people to take care of you? So we're going to have our brain cognition. We're going to be able to be physically strong to cause a consequence to an attacker. Uh-oh, is that Tamiko? Yeah, she is. Hey, Tamiko. We want to be able to inflict the consequence if necessary. We want to be able to run, jump, kick, punch, and be injury free, to have all of our cognition as long as possible. That will only come with consistent daily deposits into the 401k of your vitality. Again, that's your leverage lifestyle practices. Peaceful consumption, food that demonstrates that it loves you back, a daily personal movement practice, and garden slash nature therapy because of how it is triggering your nervous system. So if you have questions, let's see, did somebody? Hey, Tamiko. So this is some of our regulars for my Sunday coaching. So if you have questions or you're interested in coaching, you can reach out to me. Info at body-culinary.com if you're interested in coming down to Central America. Now that this is our space, And I'm sitting here smiling, which is amazing because just as we finished putting a lot of touches on his face, we got hit by Hurricane Sarah. So this is our dream, this is our baby, so we're still proceeding forward. So I really want to, I want you to see the river, to share the river with you, to share living foods with you. I invite you to invest in yourself. I invite you, do not wait for the new year. Waiting is a mentality. The mindset is everything. Waiting is a scam, right? There's nothing like immediate action towards a goal, consistent action over time. That's what it takes to transform. All right, folks. So we will connect soon. Anybody have any questions before we go? You can put your questions in the chat if you have any questions or reach out to me. And we're going to continue on with our Sunday. Feel free to replay this while you are decluttering, which is a major part of a really healthy lifestyle. I would even say it's spiritual. To replay this, to give yourself good company. Good company, that's again, that's a principle. What you're listening to and you're ingesting, right? Um, as so-called passive entertainment, what's going into your subconscious. Let me see what Miss Tamika's saying. Did we start earlier today? I think we could have. I don't know. Did we start earlier today? It's daylight savings time. So we usually start at 2. We usually start at 2, so let me see. What time is it in New York? Eastern Standard Time, I think it's 2:30. So maybe we did start early today. Mm-hmm. But the replay will be available for you. And if we need to connect on Discord, we can do that after here. All right, folks. Create a great day on purpose. With no questions. I will see you soon. Like, comment, subscribe, perhaps share this with somebody that could be that could benefit, or that's looking for some support. That's always saying they want to make a change. Create a great day, and we'll connect soon.